in the next hour, let's talk about putting the government in check and holding it accountable and holding those that we've put in office accountable for us. Our next guest is the Member of Parliament for the Githunguri Constituency in Kiambu County, the Honourable Gathoni Wamuchomba. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you doing?
Latiff. I'm fine. Good morning, sister.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well. Karibu, karibu.
Thank you.
You look very well.
Thank you.
I like the hat look.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
My new brand.
What did you decide?
2023, 2024. Yeah. It's
Why?
my new brand.
What's the symbolism of it?
I think it just reminds me that I am who I am. Just, it's just a way of building my self-esteem and appreciating myself. Yeah.
Very good.
It makes me feel like I am in charge.
Looks good on you.
Yeah.
Looks good on you. Sindio?
Very.
It does.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank God.
CT sends his greetings. He's not in today.
Oh, okay.
But he has also sent me with the day's proverb. He says, this week the proverbs will be from the Kingdom of Morocco. And today's proverb is, what's in the head of the camel is not what's in the head of the camel driver.
True.
What's your interpretation of it?
That you may assume that you're my leader and you're thinking for me, but I have my own brain. Yeah, I have the capacity to think
For myself.
Yeah, for my own. That's what I think.
That is so apt for you, isn't it?
I think so. Is it you who chose the proverb or it?
It is CT who chose the proverb.
No, and I wanted to see him.
He knew you were coming.
And interestingly, he got it from Morocco. Yeah, and Morocco's democracy is a little bit too far. We are ahead of them quite much. So I hope they also use that proverb so often. I hope. I hope. Yeah, it's a Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wamuchomba, we saw you and other MPs recently addressing a media conference and saying that you've come together as a grouping of members of parliament who are deciding to take a different path. What path is this and who are you?
It's actually not a different path. It's just a new approach. You know, there is a difference between a path and an approach. We just decided that we need to give a new paradigm shift in the way we've been debating and the way we've been approaching issues, specifically issues that require our contribution and our input at the National Assembly platform. And so we realized that Parliament of Kenya, currently the 13th Parliament, we have very many new members of Parliament who just came in and were absorbed into a certain way of thinking, a certain way of doing things. And somehow they were diverted from their core mandate, which is to represent, to advocate, to lobby, and to speak for the interest of the people who elect you as a member of Parliament. So we realized that this issue of party and partyism, patronage of parties, has actually taken the center stage, and Wanjiku is nowhere in consideration when it comes to the way we are debating and the way we are pushing policies and bills at the National Assembly platform. So we came together, people who think like they have their conscience on in terms of, are we doing the right thing? Are we speaking facts? Are we debating the way we are supposed to be debating? And we realize that there is a gap that we need to fill. And because, like most parties are patronized by party leaders, and every party leader has his own way of doing things and has issues that they need put across, we realize that they are over-patronizing. And over-patronizing means they are taking away the core duty of members of Parliament. And so we decided this is a time to undo the partyism cloth. It's time to shed off the overcoats, the political party overcloth. And once we are on that platform, that is the National Assembly platform, we perform our duty as members of Parliament. So we we connected, we networked. Those MPs that feel that that's the way to go, we decided let's just come together. So we came together, members of parliament from all manner of parties. Some of them are even independent members of parliament, others are in the ruling coalition, others are in the opposition, and we came together as colleagues and we decided Wanjiku of Mathare and Wanjiku of Githunguri are actually going through the same thing. It doesn't matter whether Wanjiku of Mathare and Wanjiku of Githunguri are represented by different parties, or rather their members of parliament are, are sponsored by different parties. But the issues Wanjiku of Githunguri or Wanjiku of Mathare and Wanjiku of Likoni is going through are the same. So we decided, let's come together. And what we did is that we realized that the older generation of members of parliament, most of them, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them still have that issue of, I can't be seen with Wamuchomba because Wamuchomba is from KK and I am from, for example, Azimio. And that party patronism is what actually is enslaving us. So we decided those that feel they are energetic enough and they are ready to face the political party wrath, let's do it. Let's come together and let's just say.
So how different will this be?
I think you can already see the difference. I mean, we have a voice. We can be able to stand and say these are issues that are affecting Kenyans. These are issues we feel that they need to be addressed. And we've done like 2 pressers now. I mean, it has been 3 weeks of serious political energy and serious political information dissemination.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the thrust or the message behind all of this? Because there's so many things I want to ask. Where we're coming from a place whereby members of parliament, especially seeing the power that an individual behind a political party has, members of parliament then usually are beholden not to the party but to the individual. The party is just dressing, right? How will the message then come clear? And what exactly is that message?
I think the message is, like you put it, the message that we are giving out has got nothing to do with political parties. It has got something to do with what is ailing Wanjiku, what is agonizing us, what are the issues that are pressing us as Kenyans, irrespective of our political parties. For heaven's sake, Latiff, when you sit here and broadcast, you don't broadcast because you are from Kenya Kwanza or you are from Azimio, but you talk issues. When you're speaking issues, fertilizer, you're not speaking because you apparently you're leaning towards any political divide. So these issues are issues that are Wanjiku based. They are not political party based. And there is nowhere we are referring to political parties. And when we came together as members of parliament, we already knew that one of our envisaged challenge would be the political party antagonism. And we are ready for that because, of course, Wanjiku who believe in me doesn't care which political party really sponsored me in parliament. Wanjiku that believe in me believe that I am a woman who feels the pain of a woman who live in Kenya, operates in Kenya, and rears her children in Kenya. And therefore it is my duty as a woman leader to actually stand in the gap, irrespective of my political party.
What is this pushback
and
that you're
I
getting?
think, Eric, you should appreciate as young people that we are trying to serve another recipe of politics. We are trying to tell people, look here, political processes are politicians' agenda. All right? But once we finish with the political processes and we get into a parliament that has a life of 5 years, within those 5 years, we should put aside the political processes and dissect issues and deal with issues that really interfere with our livelihoods. That is the kind of recipe that we are trying to serve, a new political recipe, a new paradigm change with the way we do politics.
Actually, see, even the Constitution expects that of members of parliament.
Sure.
That once you get into parliament, that as a parliament, you are not going to look at things from a bipartisan, from partisan issues, but you're going to look at things from what parliament should be doing.
Sure.
Oversighting the executive, legislating for the country, right? And representing the people of Kenya in that assembly. But you clearly are talking about the experience that has been there over the last 10, 13 years now with this new system of government, where you still are feeling shackled to the executive and to the leaders of political parties, whether those leaders are in State House or in Upper Hill or wherever. But then how will you unshackle yourselves from this? Yes, we've seen you gathering, we've seen you talking, we've seen you doing all those things, but we know the individual members that you are.
I think we're already out of the shackles because we have created a platform where we can actually voice matters Wanjiko on our own. We are coming up together. We are holding presses and actually even have a very serious backup, technical backup. People who have volunteered to actually come and give us technical support. You know, people who are telling us, we love the way you're dissecting issues. Would love to support you on this technical aspect of what you're saying. For example, last week we had a very serious sitting with the striking doctors. And we had to listen to their in-house technical issues. Those issues that don't come out to you, I mean, and they don't have time even to express them to you because they are very technical. When else should we get this kind of a forum if we don't do what we are doing? Now, for me, I understand why doctors are striking better than most of you, because I've had an opportunity to listen to the technical and the in-depth issues that are affecting doctors. And therefore, when I say that Nakumicha must be pushed to the wall, when I say Kenya Kwanza government must be made liable for what is happening right now in our hospitals, affecting members of public who cannot afford to access medical care from the private sector. I know what I'm talking about. So I think this is a very good platform for us, and I think it's a breathe out for Kenyans. Finally, there is a group of people who are speaking as it is. You know, when we came out and said, you know, there is a substandard fertilizer, Kenyans were shocked. Because this thing has been going on for a long time.
Absolutely. So now finally,
subsidized fertilizer did not just appear last week but one. No.
So now finally there is an outlet for some of these things to come to the fore. So whereby there are people who are on the receiving end, for example, of this fertilizer, and you say, okay, well, maybe it is me, and who do I go to tell that there's a problem? We are saying that there's an outlet. Okay. The question then becomes, what then will happen? Because most times when these things, we hear the Auditor General says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are going wrong. But we say, well, you know what? Nothing is going to happen because Parliament is the place where all of these things go to die, essentially. There are people who are on one side or the other side. So the likelihood, for example, you were against the affordable housing bill in Parliament. It was a shocker to some people because they said, how could that happen? She's a member of
Kenya Kwanza.
So this is the thing, that people in Parliament, members of Parliament, support issues because of where their political allegiance is, which is very unfortunate, right? Or members of Parliament don't support things because of where their political allegiance lies. So what are some of the issues that we are seeing today from what you've said that actually would need some help? I have a list. But the question is, what then will be done? Because the expectation is that Wamuchomba is going to support what President William Ruto will say or not say. But
I think what you should expect, now that this is a voice that is coming from elected members of Parliament, people who have a credible voice that is supported by their mandate as members of Parliament, then you expect that the issues raised are actually going to end up on the floor of the House, either as a debate, either as an amendment of a policy or amendment of a law. For example, I'm sure you heard very clearly the team, what I'm calling the ground team, say that we are going to deal with matters doctor strike in Parliament. Definitely we'll have to ask for an opportunity to debate matters doctor strike in Parliament. And that will give an opportunity to that member of Parliament who probably is not a team ground, but the matter has been brought us for debate. Will you not debate? Because the matter is in the floor of the House, whether you are Kenya Kwanza or not, you will debate. So when we debate, what do we expect? We expect some directives from the Speaker. We expect Parliament to give direction on the way forward. We expect a solution from Parliament. And most of the solutions that we deliberate on the floor of the House become effective. Most of them. I think the only place where solutions are generated instantly or within maybe the shortest time possible, it is on the floor of the House. Because definitely after a debate, the Speaker must rule. and his direction is final. Yeah. So I think the fact that the members of parliament are now picking up these issues, for example, the issue of substandard subsidized fertilizer, the fake fertilizer, the dubious fertilizer, the issue must come to the floor of the House. We must debate and ask ourselves, who is it to blame? Last night I saw some news flashing that some officials of Kenya Bureau of Standards have been kind of interdicted or something of the sort. But I sat and wondered, so what? First of all, we didn't even get the names of those we were told that they were interdicted. How sure are we? What did they do? So the errors of commission and omission that were done and were committed must be answerable. And therefore, that is why this team is very important, because now we are able to flag out issues that Wanjiku is talking about, take them to the National Assembly, insist and fight out until we get a hearing.
No matter what?
No
because
matter
the president
what.
said yesterday,
Yeah.
it's not even, I think, by the end of today, I'm sure there are going to be memes all over the place.
Yeah.
He said, live within your means, essentially telling the doctors that we don't have the money. So if there's a directive, if there is a word like that has come out from the president just over the last 24 hours, telling doctors, live within your means because we don't have the money.
But he didn't say.
Planning that
But he didn't say parliamentarians stop debating matters. Doctor strike.
Now that's my question.
He did not say that.
How will that debate play out vis-a-vis what the president has said in terms of what's available?
But Parliament doesn't do what the president say.
No,
or do.
really?
Yeah. Essentially, Parliament should be independent. Essentially, Parliament should have its own calendar of events. Essentially, Parliament actually gives the direction on what and how the president should behave.
So here are the things, Mheshimiwa.
So whether he said it or not, I think Parliament has a duty to debate matters doctor strike.
Right.
Parliament has a duty to listen to the doctors. Should they present any petition to Parliament,
Right.
we have a duty to receive that petition and do what doctors are saying, because they are also voters. They have their rights, and we must respect their rights.
True.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, I like what you're saying. I mean, this emergence of this other voice is a good thing. It's a breath of fresh air in Parliament in seeing whether parliamentarians, even if it doesn't materialize this time,
Yes.
but we are heading towards a direction where Parliament starts looking at itself and seeing that we must have some sort of independence in how we conduct our business in this House.
Yeah.
It'll head there, and it's a good start. Now, let's look at what you say, for example. If Team Ground raises an issue for debate in Parliament, and the Speaker says, okay, so this one, what has been discussed, we need to dig deeper into what is the issue with the fake fertilizer. We need to establish for a fact whether we have fake fertilizer in the market or not.
Sure.
He'll likely refer that matter to the committee responsible, Agriculture, right?
Yeah.
And that goes back into the Agriculture Committee, which has not taken up the matter yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is the outcome of the noise still ends up into those channels that are established by standing orders of Parliament, which is where things die, or they are presumed to die. I'm sure some of your members of Team Ground are members of some of these committees.
Sure.
Some of them are members of the Health Committee.
But I want to correct
Some
you
of them
before
are
you
members
proceed.
of the Agriculture Committee. Why are they not raising those issues in those committees? Why are those committees not doing the job that they should be doing?
I want to correct you, Eric, because you are my friend, and you know me and you have worked together for a long time, so I know how you think. On this one, I think you're wrong when you say that at the committee stage, once matters are delegated to the committee, issues die. By the way, that's when issues actually come alive, because at the committee platforms or sessions, that's when we are able to actually dissect matters with a lot of in depth.
Yes.
Because you can't be able to discuss and debate and examine a matter on the floor of the House. Because you understand, we are normally given 2 minutes, 5 minutes maximum for you to debate.
Yes.
But at the committee level, that's when you are able to actually discuss issues, get into the technical aspect of the issue, and get a clear direction. So, and that is the intention of this Team Ground. Our work is to make sure that we raise pertinent issues that are affecting our voters, and make sure that we debate, and after we debate, we actually conclude that matter the right way. I think, to me, and to my understanding, and to my experience within the many years I've been in Parliament now, any matter that concerns Wanjiku, once it is presented on the floor of the House, we always get a solution. A good example.
Yeah.
Every time the Speaker rules, sometimes he rules immediately that this matter must be deliberated on and a solution given in a period of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 1 month. And the fact that the speaker gives timelines gives us an opportunity for us to be able to score and get the result, the solution of the matters that we are looking for. So I don't want to agree with you that some matters die once they come to the floor of the House. Of course, there are some that just die based on how vigorant or how aggressive is the committee, because there are some committees that are very aggressive, there are committees that are a bit dormant, there are committees that don't do any investigative role within whatever they are handling. So some matters will flare up, but there are some matters that will just die, and not really dying, go quiet. But there is something happening behind the scenes.
Usually, Mheshimiwa, from my own observation of the several years of Parliament, is that matters that require national investigation, matters that are raising a question about a scandal of one way or another, will end up with a report. And that report will come to the floor of the House, and that will lead to the end of that matter. COVID billionaires is one of them. KEMSA is another one. I mean, we've seen these things happen.
Mercury.
And that's why I'm saying, even on this particular matter, fake fertilizer. So Team Ground will raise the issue. It will be discussed, right, high tempo, and then the speaker will say, let's take this matter. In fact, let's do this.
But don't you think...
Let's create a special, select committee comprising several committees, agriculture, comprising another, and let the committee
But don't you think, Eric, Team
Matters
Ground
will come out. And then there'll be a report.
No, not necessarily. Eric, I think there are times when you need a voice to amplify an issue so that the relevant stakeholders who are supposed to action on such matters are given some impetus. For example, the issue of dubious fertilizer. The stakeholders that are supposed to take up the matter are on their toes. If we never spoke as Team Ground, if we never amplified the voice of the voiceless, the many farmers that had bought the fertilizer and quietly, saw what was happening and decided to keep quiet because, of course, they were fearing, some of them were not sure. If we never brought that matter out, I'm sure probably maybe we will not be dissecting what we are dissecting today. So I think Team Ground has a reason to just amplify voices, amplify issues, give a voice to issues that
I agree.
You agree.
It is the final solution.
Please remember
I'm wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
And getting to the final solution, where that farmer who bought a bag of choka into their farm, it's already raining. By the time this investigation is completed, that farmer will get some level of justice. That these doctors who are not being posted, right? That Parliament will get to a point and actually realize and say, yes, we did not allocate a budget that is sufficient to send these doctors on internship. And therefore, we are demanding that the second supplementary budget that's about to come next month should have this particular matter. And that we see that as the output that says we want X amount put in the supplementary budget to send our intern doctors.
So now you're right. You're right. You're saying that even as much as we amplify issues, once those issues are brought to the floor of the House, it is the honors of the members of Parliament to come up with a solution. For me, I'm expecting that tomorrow we may not even be able to start off parliamentary business before we sort out issues of doctor strike. I mean, if there are sober members of Parliament in this country who represent people who are going through agony in our public health sector, then we must stop every other business and make sure that we debate matters, doctor strike, and come up with a solution. If there is no sufficient budget, it is time for us to allocate monies, isn't it? So that is why we are making noise, so that this issue is not wished away. Because there are people who have the tendency of, just wishing away matters because it is Wamuchomba who is raising the matter, or it is because it is those doctors who have no voice and have no access to the powers that may be. So that is why we are actually picking up these voices and amplifying the voices, because our work is to actually represent, and that is one of our work, that is one of our role of a member of Parliament, to represent, to take over the mumbles of the mamas of the community, and amplify if there are issues that really affect their livelihoods. And I can't sit here, Eric and my sister, I can't sit here and just assume that life is normal. It can't be normal when our mothers are delivering in hospitals and are losing their babies. It cannot be business as usual.
It's not.
When you read stories like the one I read about the Nakuru girl who abandoned her infant because she could not be able to pay her own maternity bill of 23,000. It cannot be business as usual when you're scrapping away Linda Mama. A package that really was a solution to our, maternity health care in this country. So that is why Team Ground is there, so that we can now amplify our voices on behalf of that section of the society that is really struggling.
Very good. The Honorable Gathoni Wamuchomba, Member of Parliament for Githunguri Constituency, a member of the Team Ground. Team Ground, if you're hearing it for the first time, is this caucus of members of Parliament from across the political divide. Some are in Kenya Kwanza, others are in Azimio, others are independent. Which other coalition is in Parliament?
We have two coalitions, but we also have some small fragmented parties that are not in either of the coalitions.
Even those ones, some of them are in this. How many are you in total?
About 17.
17 members of Team
Ground. And we
Ground.
have 3 senators.
And recruiting.
Oh yeah, they are coming every day.
Very good.
They are joining in.
So the Kenya National Highways Authority again has decided to give a contract for repairs of a section of a road there, about 100 meters or so of a road. And so the contractor has therefore just diverted traffic onto some mud trucks. Get off the road and find your way somewhere for the next 100 meters and then come back onto the road. The problem is that the traffic we're talking about is heavy traffic. Trucks coming from Mombasa, heavy. Vehicles coming from Mombasa, heavy. Vehicles heading towards Mombasa, heavy. All of them crammed into this one space, which is not smooth, motorable area. The traffic yesterday was stretching all the way to Salama, coming towards Nairobi. And this diversion is just at Kapiti Plains, before you get to Kwanza.
400.
And sadly, Eric, I lost a friend of mine in that traffic. When he was struggling, he suffered a stroke. He was put on an ambulance, and getting to that diversion near Boulevard,
couldn't move.
They couldn't move. They tried asking for way. They tried everything. There was no traffic man anywhere to allow, to make way for them, and we lost that life there for about 45 minutes, stuck in that traffic.
The ambulance was stuck at...
Yes, the ambulance was stuck.
At Museum Hill interchange there.
Yeah, unfortunately. I felt very, very, very touched.
That is the end result of the problems that we are talking about.
Yes, we have created bottleneck for ourselves everywhere. Every time the government is trying to provide us a solution, we create ourselves a bottleneck over the same problem. When I saw my president last night says that we have to try to live within
our means.
And I wondered, is Mr. President telling us that those of us who cannot afford to access Nairobi Hospital for medication, we try and adjust and just live with our problems?
Exactly.
Is Mr. President telling us that those of us who cannot be able to get to a nice maternity facility, a private operated maternity facility, then we continue getting our babies as women on the floor of public hospitals? Is Mr. President trying to tell us that those children who did not get to Form 1, because the Form 1 transition this year has been the lowest at 90.046%, weighed up down from 99%, almost 100% last year. Is Mr. President trying to tell us that now we continue languishing in agony and pain just because there's no money? What is our priority? Is it affordable housing, or is it our medication? Is it our dying cancer patients, or is it affordable housing? That is why I had to wake up at 4 a.m. I live in Kiambu County. I had to struggle with that traffic to come here and let the nation hear me that our priorities are wrong and we must go back to the drawing board. Last week, when we were doing the presser with the ground team, I said it and I'll repeat. The many Haas vehicles I am registering on Thika Road every morning, especially from tomorrow, because people in Mount Kenya region bury their loved ones on Tuesdays and Fridays. If you go to Thika Road tomorrow morning, near KU mortuary, the morgue, near KU hospital mortuary, the morgue, near Okoh hospital, the morgue, you will be shocked the many vehicles that are now increasingly appearing to collect their loved ones. The scenarios that are happening right now at our morgues or around our morgues are the scenarios and the scenes that we witnessed during COVID. It cannot be business as usual. And it will not be business as usual. And we are not going to sit as members of parliament, those of us that have conscience, to see those kind of scenes come back. It will haunt us today and for future, it will. We must call a spade, Eric. President's advisors who are telling him that the economy cannot support and cannot absorb the needs of our doctors are wrong. And telling the president that doctors and Kenyans have to start adjusting to live within our means. It is not within our means to construct affordable houses when we cannot afford to take our loved ones to Form 1. And for your information, Kenya Kwanza government has failed to provide the right to basic education to our Form 1 students who graduated from Class 8 last year. When Kenya Kwanza government came in, we were enjoying 100% transitions from Class 8 to Form 1. As we speak, 854,000 children did not report for Form 1. I heard the CS of Health saying we are politicizing matters doctors strike. Let's put doctors aside. Are we politicizing the schools?
Why are these children not in school?
Where are these children? Why are they not in school? It is because the government has failed to make sure that they are bound with the policy that Kenya Kwanza found in place.
Why?
These 851 candidates are either now grazing animals, working as housemaids, or loitering in the street.
Because we said that there's something that must be paid for them to be able to attend school, and that's something they cannot afford.
Exactly.
Are we talking about affordability now?
Yes.
Of these school fees that you are required to pay? Because there is a little bit of something that you must bring.
Number two, forget about even the money that the parents are supposed to pay as the children get to Form 1. Let's talk about capitation. As we speak, the Kenya Kwanza government has failed. And you know, when I speak like this, people say, oh, she's part of Kenya Kwanza government and she's now talking against the Kenya Kwanza government. I'm not talking about against the Kenya Kwanza government. I'm talking about the people who made that Kenya Kwanza government are the people who are suffering.
Where are we on capitation?
The whole of 2023, the government of Kenya did not submit the 100% money for capitation. And I'll break for you down. Can I?
Yes, please.
First term 2023. Schools were supposed to get each child 11,122 per child. The government, through the circular that was dated on 26 January 2023 by PS Belio Kipsang, the government released 3,706. Can you do your maths? They were supposed to release 11,122. They released only 3,706. What was the balance?
About 7,400.
And the government also retained 707 shillings per child. Money that was supposed to be for NHIF, what we call Edu Afya.
Yep.
Yes.
So the deficit for first term 2023 was 6,709. Second term, the government was supposed to release 6,673. Through a circular that was dated 14th June 2023 by Belio Kipsang, the PS, the government released 3,381 and retained 768 shillings per child for Edu Afya. Deficit for second term was 2,524. Third term 2023, the government was supposed to release 4,449 shillings per child. Through a circular dated 25th September 2023 by Belio Kipsang, the PS, the government released only 2,512 and retained 815 shillings for Edu-Afya per child. Deficit for third term was 1,122 per child. So the total deficit for the year 2023 that Kenya Kwanza did not remit, it is 10,355
per child.
Per child. So the total amount of money that Kenya Kwanza is expected to have released was 82 billion 888,723,744 shillings. What they received was 43 billion 874. So where is 38 billion 213 million 843,480 shillings? This money was in the budget.
So where
did this money go? That is why Team Ground is coming together to ask these critical questions.
Very good.
So as we speak, the children who have not been able to access to Form 1, the ones I'm talking about, 138,000 children, cannot even be accommodated on credit in schools because already these schools are debt-ridden.
And that was money for last year. Can I just...
So as we speak right now, that is now last year.
That's last year.
We already have deficit of how much?
38 billion.
38 billion, 213 million, 843,480 shillings. Now, let's come to 2024. We are talking about 4.2 million children under the Ministry of Education. Term 1, 2023. The schools were supposed to get 11,122 per child. Circular dated 17th January 2024 by Berio Kisang released 7,754 per child. The government retained 565 shillings for Edu-Afya.
But Edu-Afya now is dead.
Completely. Deficit for Form 1. Each child is owed by the government.
Term 1.
2,803. Therefore, the money for first term this year has gone to fill the deficit of last year. So as we speak right now, the capitation money that was sent to schools last week but one is not for second term. It's supposed to be taking care of the debts.
For third term,
Previous
second
debts.
term.
But Berio Kesang was very, very smart. He indicated in that circular that that money must only be used during second term, which is now coming next month. That is to mean he doesn't want teachers to use that money to pay debts.
Pay previous debts.
So if any head teacher had admitted a child who had no capacity to pay Form 1, what will happen to that child? Those children will go back home. So now, as I speak about 138,000 who did not join Form 1, I'm expecting another 500,000 children who are going to be sent out of school because there is no capitation money. Schools are in debts and they are carrying burdens. They will chase away these children back.
Mheshimiwa, budget is done by Parliament.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So all the appropriation comes from Parliament. Oversighting and making sure that the money that's supposed to go to all these functions is done by Parliament. Are you telling me that these things happened while Parliament was watching and we only want to blame political patronage?
Yes.
So the reason why money was budgeted by Parliament and expenditure approved by Parliament, and then the money did not end up going to the schools as was supposed to have happened, was because of political patronage.
I can tell you here, and I will not blink, Parliament has failed Kenyans. Because from 2023 to date, I have read for you and explained to you the perpetual debt push over. Every time we are pushing debt over.
Yep.
And Parliament seems to be very quiet. People are not speaking. And when some of us speak, we are branded. So I decided I would rather be branded, but do what my conscience tells me to do. And I'll no longer carry that overcoat of, oh, I come from this area of political alienation, so I can't speak on this. Because if I don't speak on this, I'm spoiling a child's life, future, livelihoods. We are demolishing people's future. We are crumbling down what our forefathers built through sweat and blood for a long time.
Mheshimiwa, I think we really do
We
have
are
to
retrogressing.
we really must insist and ask the questions in terms of where this money has gone. We speak of 38 billion shillings from last year, but we're also talking about 54 billion shillings from years before, right?
Yeah.
And now here we are in 2024, and I know that on one side, the ministry will say no school should send any child home.
Definitely.
That's nice. You can say that.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you for a fact, schools are sending children home. Second term is about to start next year, next month.
Next month. Yeah.
Children who have not paid fees will not be allowed in
But
school.
what do you expect the head teachers
And
to
head
do?
teachers are saying, we don't have a choice. We cannot fund the lives of these children in school because we have not received the money.
So when I
So the questions that are being asked, I think now need to be pushed a little bit harder, because you've asked the question, where did 38 billion shillings go? Nobody is answering, Mheshimiwa.
And you know, every time Bello Kisang, the PS in charge of basic education, come to Parliament and these questions are asked, they keep saying, you know, we are releasing money next week.
Yeah.
Next week has actually become as the song. Every minister coming to Parliament to answer questions, they say, next week we are releasing CDF money. Next week we are releasing capitation money. Next week we are sorting out doctors. Next week. I think I have the confidence to speak this morning and say Kenya Kwanza government is sabotaging itself. Kenya Kwanza government is sabotaging itself, and this time around nobody should wake up and say, oh, it is Uhuru Kenyatta, oh, it is Raila Odinga, oh, now you're all speaking the same language, all of you. So nobody should come and say, oh, the cartels are being sent by Uhuru Kenyatta, by Raila Odinga, we are sabotaging ourselves. We are sabotaging ourselves medically. Nothing is happening in our public hospitals, and you know that. We are sabotaging ourselves education-wise. You can hear the kind of mess that is in our education sector. We are sabotaging ourselves agriculturally. You can see what's happening with subsidized fake fertilizer, fake seeds. Yesterday I was watching a clip of, fake maize seeds from Nakuru. We are sabotaging ourselves. And this is the time to take the problem and own it. The president, the ministers, Parliament, and anybody else who is in the leadership position, it is time for us to accept there is a problem.
Yep.
Let us go back to the drawing board. Let us have national dialogue, not about leaders, but about issues affecting Wajiko.
Gathoni, do you think we are broke?
Definitely, yes. This is a sign.
So,
what else? How else do you define
brokenness when you don't have money to fit your basics? So here we are. You even have come with a copy of this year's budget policy statement.
I have the budget policy,
which has been looked at by the Committee of Budget and Appropriation. The report has been presented in Parliament. That report was saying, you know what, looking at the collections in the last financial year, you do not even hit your target, and yet you are raising the target for collection in the next financial year by another whopping several hundreds of billions of shillings. And the budget is rising again. Is this responsible of Parliament to approve a continuously rising budget against dwindling targets being met on revenues?
Actually, if you ask me...
Aren't you just allowing the government to continue failing?
Actually, if you asked me, there is no difference between this BPS for 2024 and the one that I opposed 2023. There is no difference, because this is talking about a deficit of 877 billion. Money we do not have, but we are budgeting it. So we will see another signature session. President Ruto accepting loans again. If we pass this BPS as a budget for this year, President Ruto has to ask for another loan. So for me, I'm saying let us suspend this. This year's budget must be suspended until we review and make sure we are not passing deficits. We cannot be living large on borrowed money. Let us suspend all those other expenditures that border along our livelihoods, our basic livelihoods requirement. For example, for heaven's sake, why do we have to build new houses when people are dying in hospitals? What is our priority? Can't we take that money that we are using to construct affordable houses? We first of all deal with our medical issues. When people are healthy, they actually even can sleep outside and they will not even be sick. I mean, when you're healthy, you can sleep anywhere. When you are full, when you have eaten and you are full, you can sleep anywhere. So to me, I think it's time for us to create the right political noise around this budget proposal. This proposal is a shortcut
to debt.
And it is unfortunate, Eric, that as we speak right now, this is a country that is preparing to hand over an inheritance to the generations of this country, not to share what we call generational wealth, but to share generational debts. The debts that we carry on our shoulders, this country, will only be paid in the next 29 years. 26 to 29 years. So if we add any other debt, we are done. So for me, my recommendation would be, let us suspend this BPS. Let us not debate BPS matters in Parliament until we sort our population in matters health. It is critical. It is important. It is not about living within our means. It is a necessity. And according to this constitution, which I always carry, the right to health has no alternative. And your right begins where mine ends.
Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for joining us. Gathoni Wamuchomba, Member of Parliament, Githunguri Constituency, part of the newly formed caucus in Parliament, calling itself Team Ground, of several members of Parliament from across the political divide who are saying, let's raise the voices, let Parliament now do the job it should be doing.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.